Distinguished guests, board members, supporters and staff. Tempus fugit was a Latin phrase I learned as a lad at boarding school, meaning time flies. Far more meaningful one advances in age. It seems only like last week that I was standing here before you claiming we had 900 patrons to our 2015 charity lunch. Yet, within a blink of an eye, I'm back again, claiming we have 961 and it's a sellout. Well done to everybody. To those of you who have marked this date in your calendar for many years, thank you for your loyal support. To those of you that were dragged along here by our board members, bullied or coerced, or just curious to dip your toe in the water, welcome. Welcome to everybody to our 12th annual Parkerville Charity Lunch, where we continue our theme, Child Abuse is No Laughing Matter. Each year we gather here to be amongst friends and colleagues, to be entertained by comedians both on and off the stage, and to hear stories of sadness and success about the lives of vulnerable children and young people. Collectively, we are on a journey to address the heinous crime of child abuse that occurs in our nation, our city, and our neighbourhood. We are together today to gather resources for the wounded children that come into our care and to leave these children in a better place. But we're also on a journey to stop child abuse in this great nation of ours by raising awareness around the incidence and the effect of abuse on a child's life. I often think that one of the luckiest things that can happen to you in life is to have had a happy childhood. Feel blessed if you have. There is no great achievement in being born with greater opportunities or lesser challenges than the next person in life. It's really luck. The children that we see must navigate through a world in which they played no part in creating. For some of them, navigating through that world is too much, and for others is a far greater challenge than it ever should be. Every year for the past 11 years, I have proclaimed the stats around child abuse to this audience, and each year I've tried to do it a little bit differently to not be so repetitive. But this year I failed. I failed to come up with a new and creative way in which to communicate that same information to you. And then I thought, it is what it is. What you need to continually hear until we get it right. And so here is that repeated message. 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will be abused before they're 18 years of age. 90% of those children know the perpetrator. Stranger danger only accounts for 5% of all child sexual abuse cases. The abuse, as we see it, is interfamilial, known to the child as a relative or friend in the family, in the community, as a teacher, football coach, mentor, or a professional caring for the child. 80% of children who are sexually abused do not disclose until later in life, if at all, out of fear. Adolescents who report abuse will usually do so with 3 or 4 years' history of abuse. 1 in 25 children will be sexually abused by a family member before that child reaches 15. 9 years of age is the most common age for abuse to start, and it usually occurs before puberty. Every day in Australia, there are 113 new substantiated cases of child abuse. Awful, isn't it? Yes, I know, I understand. I know it's difficult for you to hear. But as difficult as it is for you to hear, it's worse for the child to experience. And worse than the stats is the effect on the child's life, and this is your take-home message. Child abuse causes impairment to the development pathways of a child's brain, resulting in cognitive, emotional, social, and/or physical disability, which the child will carry through the rest of their lives. As an advocate for children, I believe that any serious childhood illness is a tragedy. But when we see children with cystic fibrosis and asthma and leukemia, we can see their pain. Sometimes we can almost feel it. For the child who's been abused, their pain is mostly invisible. Children affected by trauma from abuse are regularly misunderstood. Their cognitive delay is wrongly misinterpreted in schools as the child being dull, listless, lazily, disinterested, resulting in poor educational outcomes. Their distrust of adults leaves them socially isolated, where they're classified as losers or strange, making it difficult for them to form and maintain relationships. Their emotional delays and the consequential, complex, difficult and challenging behaviour will have the medical fraternity diagnosing them wrongly as ADHD and oppositional defiant behaviour. And their genuine mental health issues are scantily thrown aside as attention-seeking. And the resultant drug and alcohol dependency and suicides are ever increasing. At best, these children will walk through life where they'll have a poor self-esteem, where they think they are useless and worthless, because those closest to them tell them every single day. This is not about some incurable disease. This is simply because these children have been abused by a trusted adult. Attitudes are reflected in the priority that we give to these children's needs. My question of you is, have our attitudes reflected what has happened, what is happening now, the change that is happening for these children, and what they deserve, have a right to? This leads me to describe to you how important we are to these children and how important you are to us, and to give you some insight as to what's been happening at Parkerville in the last 12 years. In 2004, Parkerville Children and Youth Care had 45 staff and saw 200 children a year where they provided tertiary and secondary services. The community was ignorant of the issues of child abuse, both the incidence and the effect. Our therapeutic response was a roof over their head, a warm bed, 3 square meals a day within the bosom of employee carers on a bush setting. Today, Parkerville Children and Youth Care has 185 staff. And if I can pause for 1 second and alert you to 5 tables of staff in the far corner and ask you to please acknowledge the commitment that these people make in this very complex area of work every single day. These staff and more will provide tertiary and secondary services to some 4,500 children and young people, and early intervention services to some 6,000 primary school children a year. Those services will be spread across 16 different programs right across our state, from Carnarvon down to Bunbury in the southwest and right across our metropolitan area. The age range is 0 to 25. The George Jones Child Advocacy Centre, the first and only one of its kind in Australia, has seen 3,000 children, young people and families this year alone. Our clinical team is a sophisticated, well-educated, committed group of people whose opinions in this area of work are regularly sought. In the last 12 years, we have made significant strides in improving the outcomes for vulnerable children and young people. The community is finally cottoning on to the incidence of child abuse, albeit less so the effects. But there is a pocket of that community that comes to these luncheons on a regular basis that is very well educated. Before the 1970s, we thought child sexual abuse was a product of the poor. Today, we know it spares no race, ethnic group, or economic standing. So much of what we do and have done is because of your continuous support. On behalf of the children and young people, I sincerely thank you. The essence of being human is to care, and you have done that. So, loyal supporters, why does Parkerville exist? The stats that I've told you over the last 12 years haven't changed. And the number of children that are coming to access our services aren't decreasing. So why are we here doing what we do? If I was to ask my staff that question, why are we here doing what we do? The response that I would get would not be about numbers, growth of programs, expansion into new territories. The response that I would get would always relate back to the individual child. We are here for the child who's lost their innocence because of some unspeakable cruelty and ignorance. We're here for the child who suffers late at night, who cannot sleep because of the secret they must keep. We're here for the little boy who cannot speak or eat because his face is broken and beaten. We're here for the child who has no more tears to shed and cannot cry. We're here for the child who grieves for their loss and only finds relief through harming themselves. We're here for the battered and the bruised, the overwhelmed, the ashamed, those who feel useless and worthless and only want to die. And we're here for the babies who felt pain before they could walk, who only wanted love and only ever got hate. But we're also here to be the face of hope, to watch their eyes light up when trust returns. We're here to protect and care and nurture, support and heal. We're here to be their voice and stand in their corner and loudly acclaim their plight. We're here to repair the damage, share their joy as healing grows. And we're here to take away the fear of the child in need. And we're here because this is what we do well. And we're here because of you. And we thank you for being here for them. Thank you.